The stars stretched endlessly across the black sea of space as Captain Ethan Cole's small explorer ship drifted off its planned course. Warning lights blinked across the control panel. Alarms screamed in mechanical panic, and smoke filled the narrow cockpit. Ethan's heartbeat pounded in his ears louder than the sirens. He slammed the controls again and again, but the ship didn't respond. Something, an energy wave from a nearby nebula, had fried his engines. The craft spun violently toward a strange glowing planet below. He barely had time to fasten his harness before everything went dark. When he woke, silence filled the air. The ship was broken, half buried in soft silver sand. The cracked windshield revealed a sky unlike any he'd ever seen. Violet clouds drifting across twin moons, lightning whispering quietly through the clouds like veins of light. Ethan groaned, touching his bruised forehead. His oxygen meter blinked red. He needed to find air, water, or shelter fast. He stepped out into the alien air and, to his surprise, breathed normally. The air was cold but clean. The ground beneath his boots shimmered faintly as if full of tiny crystals. He checked his scanner. It flickered weakly, showing faint life signatures nearby. Maybe help, or maybe danger, he muttered, but there was no choice. He followed the reading. As he walked, the world grew stranger. The forest he entered looked alive in ways that defied science. Trees pulsed softly with blue light. Petals drifted from flowers that floated in the air instead of growing from soil. His boots sank into glowing moss that hummed faintly like it was breathing. Then he saw them. Footprints. But not human. Each step left behind a soft, luminous outline, as if whoever walked here carried starlight beneath their skin. Ethan crouched, touching one print. It was warm. Someone had been here recently. He raised his flashlight and continued forward, deeper into the crystal forest. The air began to shimmer, the light bending oddly. He thought he saw a figure between the trees, a shadow moving gracefully. But when he blinked, it vanished. A whisper touched his mind. Not a sound. A feeling. A presence. You don't belong here. Ethan froze, spinning around. His flashlight beam cut across the trees. Nothing. Only the glowing mist. "Who's there?" he called. "I'm not here to hurt anyone. My ship crashed. I just need help." Silence. Then a faint vibration under his boots. The moss glowed brighter. Energy pulsed through the ground like a heartbeat. Suddenly, a beam of blue light shot down from the trees, hitting the ground before him. From within the glow, a shape formed. A tall, slender figure, her body wrapped in armor that shimmered like liquid metal. Her eyes, glowing silver, locked on him with sharp, calculating focus. Her skin, pale blue with faint glowing lines, seemed to emit its own light. Ethan stumbled back. "Wait, don't shoot! I'm not your enemy!" The alien girl raised a crystal-like weapon. "Human," she said, her voice echoing inside his head more than through his ears. "You have entered forbidden ground. This world is sacred. How did you find it?" Her voice was calm but cold, carrying authority that made Ethan's hands tremble. "My ship, it crashed. I didn't mean to come here." She tilted her head slightly, studying him like a scientist observing a strange creature. "Your species should not have survived the radiation belt, yet you stand before me, breathing, living." Ethan swallowed. "Guess I'm lucky. Or dangerous," she replied. Her weapon glowed brighter. Ethan raised his hand slowly. "Look, I don't even know where I am. I just need to contact my ship. My crew will think I'm dead. Please, if you can help me." The alien narrowed her glowing eyes, then stepped closer. The air around her shimmered with heat, her armor shifting like flowing water. Ethan's breath caught, not just from fear. There was something mesmerizing about her. Something powerful yet graceful, like watching lightning take human form. "I am Lyra, guardian of the Myron Valley," she said. "No outsider has set foot here for centuries. If your words are false, your life ends now." "I'm not lying," Ethan said softly. "I just want to go home." Lyra lowered her weapon slightly, still cautious. She circled him once, scanning him with a device that emitted a soft chime. "Strange," she murmured. "Your body temperature is lower than ours. Yet your heart beats faster. Why?" He gave a nervous smile. "Because you're pointing a weapon at me." Lyra stared at him blankly, then frowned, almost confused. "Fear," she whispered. "You feel fear, and yet you still speak." Ethan shrugged. "Fear's normal. Means I'm still alive." For a moment, neither spoke. The forest pulsed quietly around them as if listening. Then Lyra stepped back. "You will come with me. The elders will decide what happens to you." Ethan hesitated. "And if they don't like me?" Her gaze didn't soften. Then your heart will stop before the next moon rises. She turned sharply, the light around her fading as she moved. Ethan had no choice but to follow. The forest whispered with strange voices as he walked behind her, his mind racing. Who was she? What kind of planet was this? And why did it feel like the ground itself was alive? As they reached the edge of a cliff, he saw it. An entire alien city carved into glowing crystal towers, floating slightly above the ground, each structure connected by beams of light. It was breathtaking, unreal. Lyra looked back at him for the first time with something that wasn't anger. Curiosity. "Welcome to Eloria," she said quietly. "Pray it welcomes you." Ethan stared at the vast alien world before him, unaware that this single step into their land would change not only his fate, but the fate of two species forever. The journey to the alien city was silent. Ethan walked behind Lyra, his boots echoing softly on the glowing crystal bridge. The air shimmered with light, and strange floating creatures moved like jellyfish through the mist. The deeper they went, the more he realized this was no ordinary civilization. The city seemed alive, its towers humming gently as if breathing in rhythm with the planet itself. Lyra never looked back. Her steps were confident, precise, each one echoing authority. Ethan watched her move, fascinated and uneasy. Her silver-blue skin reflected the light like liquid metal, and her long white hair flowed weightlessly behind her. She looked both beautiful and untouchable, like a being carved from starlight. When they reached the inner gate, two armored guards stepped forward. Their eyes glowed white, their expressions unreadable. Lyra spoke in a language that sounded like soft music mixed with thunder. The guards nodded, scanning Ethan from head to toe before leading him through a tunnel lined with light crystals. They entered a circular chamber filled with floating orbs and streams of energy flowing like rivers in the air. At the center stood a massive throne carved from pure glass, and upon it sat an elder alien whose skin shimmered gold. His eyes opened slowly as if waking from a long dream. "Another human," the elder said, his voice deep and calm. "It has been many cycles since your kind wandered this far." Ethan bowed slightly, unsure of what to say. "I didn't mean to intrude. My ship crashed. I only need help to fix it and leave." Lyra remained beside him, silent, her gaze steady on the elder. The elder studied Ethan for a long moment before raising a hand. A beam of soft light surrounded him, scanning every part of his body. Ethan felt a gentle warmth move through him, almost peaceful. "His mind is unaltered," the elder murmured. "No implants, no weapons, no deceit." He turned to Lyra. "You brought him here. Do you understand what this means?" "Yes, elder," she replied. "But he is different. The radiation of our atmosphere should have killed him. Yet he lives." The elder's gaze deepened. "Then perhaps his existence carries purpose." He looked at Ethan again. "You will remain under observation until we understand your nature. Harm no one and no harm will come to you." Ethan nodded, though the thought of being their guest made him uneasy. Guards led him to a chamber made of smooth stone, with glowing vines running along the walls. It wasn't a cell exactly, but the door locked with a pulse of energy once they left. For the first time since crashing, he was alone. The silence pressed heavily around him. He sat on the cold floor, staring at the strange light patterns above. Every few moments he thought he heard faint whispers in the air, like the planet itself was speaking. Hours later, the door opened. Lyra entered quietly, carrying a small tray of food, bright liquid-like fruits that shimmered softly. Ethan stood up quickly. "I didn't expect you to come back," he said. She placed the tray down and looked at him, her expression calm but curious. "You confuse me, human. You should be afraid, yet you are not." Ethan smiled slightly. "Maybe I'm just too tired to panic." She studied his face for a long time. "Your heart beats faster than ours. Your eyes move too much. You speak even when silence is safer." "Why?" he shrugged. "That's just being human, I guess. We talk even when we shouldn't. We hope even when things look bad." Lyra tilted her head. "Hope. We lost that word long ago." Her tone softened, and for a moment Ethan saw something human in her eyes, a quiet sadness. He sat down again. "Then maybe you need someone to remind you." Lyra didn't respond. Instead, she sat across from him, observing closely. She watched how he moved, how he breathed, how his hands trembled slightly when he picked up the fruit. She seemed fascinated not by his words, but by his existence itself. Finally, she spoke again. My people believe emotion is weakness. But when I look at you, I see power in your fear. I see meaning in your pain, perhaps that is why you survived. Ethan met her gaze. Maybe, or maybe I'm just too stubborn to die. Lyra's lips curved slightly, her first small smile. It was brief but real. Outside, the crystal walls glowed brighter for a moment, as if the planet itself reacted to the fragile connection forming between them. Neither noticed it. In that quiet chamber, two beings from different worlds sat across from each other, bound not by war or curiosity, but by something neither could yet name. And as the twin moons rose over the alien city, Lyra looked at the human one last time before standing. Rest now, she said softly. Tomorrow they will test what makes you human. She walked away and the door sealed shut behind her. Ethan watched her leave, unaware that his greatest challenge was not survival, but understanding the strange, beautiful creature who no longer saw him as an enemy. The night fell quietly over Aloria, its crystal towers glowing like lanterns floating in the mist. Ethan lay awake in his chamber, staring at the moving lights above him. He could not sleep. His mind kept returning to Lyra, her calm voice, her strange curiosity, and that small, rare smile she had given him before leaving. Something about her presence felt both alien and familiar, as if she was fighting something inside herself that even she didn't understand. The air shifted suddenly. The room lights flickered and a low hum grew louder beneath the floor. Ethan sat up, alert. Then came the sound of a distant roar, a deep, rumbling cry that didn't sound mechanical. It was alive. Outside, the alarm tones of the alien city echoed through the air, carried by waves of energy. He could see glowing shadows moving past the glass walls, beasts unlike anything he had seen before. They were massive, dark forms covered in glowing scales, their eyes burning red. Before he could react, the chamber door burst open. Lyra ran inside, her usually calm face now tense. You must come with me, she said sharply. What's happening? Ethan asked, standing quickly. The city is under attack. The creatures from the outer lands have broken through our shields. She tossed him a glowing staff. Use this if they get close. He gripped it tightly, though he had no idea how it worked. Why me? Shouldn't you be helping your soldiers? Lyra glanced at him, her voice firm. You are my responsibility. I brought you here. If you die, your blood is mine. Before he could answer, the wall behind them cracked open as a creature smashed through, its roar shaking the ground. Lyra moved faster than his eyes could follow. She swung her weapon, releasing a wave of blue energy that sliced through the beast's chest. It fell, but two more appeared in its place. Run! She shouted. Ethan obeyed, sprinting through the glowing corridor. The ground trembled beneath his boots. Crystals shattered above him, showering sparks of blue light. The city that had looked so perfect only hours ago now felt like a collapsing dream. Lyra fought beside him, her movements graceful yet brutal, every strike a blur of energy. But even she couldn't fight them all. A creature leaped from the ceiling, crashing onto the path ahead. Ethan reacted without thinking. He grabbed a broken crystal rod and drove it into the creature's side. It screamed and fell backward, its glowing blood spilling across the floor. Lyra stared at him in disbelief. You fought it? He was panting hard, his arms shaking. What, you think I'd just watch? For a moment she said nothing. The glow in her eyes flickered softer this time. You are reckless, she whispered, but brave. More beasts appeared, blocking the exit. Lyra reached for her weapon again, but her energy crystal was dimming. She was tiring. Ethan saw her stumble for the first time. Without hesitation, he grabbed her arm and pulled her through a side tunnel. The two ran until the noise of battle faded behind them. They emerged into a wide chamber filled with light and mirrors, the heart of the city. Lyra leaned against a wall, breathing heavily. Ethan knelt beside her. Are you hurt? She shook her head. Just drained. Our power comes from the crystals. When they break, so do we. Ethan looked at the cracks spreading through the walls. Then we need to get out before this whole place collapses. Lyra met his eyes. You saved me back there. He gave a tired smile. Guess that makes us even? No, she said softly. It makes us connected. The words lingered between them. For the first time, Lyra didn't sound like a warrior. She sounded almost human. Outside, the rumble began to fade. The beasts were retreating, drawn away by the soldiers of Aloria. Silence filled the chamber once more. Lyra stood and walked toward the broken edge of the platform. Below them, the valley shimmered under the twin moons, its rivers glowing silver. "You are unlike anything I have ever known, human," she said quietly. "Our kind sees your race as weak, but I saw strength tonight that even my people have forgotten." Ethan joined her, gazing at the vast alien world stretching beyond the city. "Maybe strength isn't about power," he said. "Maybe it's about what you're willing to protect." Lyra turned to face him. For a long moment she said nothing. Then she reached out and touched his arm gently, as if trying to understand warmth for the first time. A spark passed between them. Real. Alive. She pulled her hand back quickly, eyes wide with surprise. "What was that?" Ethan smiled softly. "That's called feeling." Lyra looked at her hand, still glowing faintly. "Feeling," she repeated, as if tasting the word. As the moonlight fell across their faces, she looked at him with new eyes, no longer as a prisoner or an intruder, but as something she could not name. And for the first time in her life, the guardian of Eloria felt something she had been taught never to feel, a heartbeat that wasn't her own. The city of Eloria lay quiet after the storm. Crystals dimmed, towers stood scarred, and the glowing rivers below carried the reflections of fire and smoke. Ethan and Lyra stood at the edge of the broken bridge, looking down at what was once perfection. The attack had shaken the entire city, but what stayed in both their minds was not the destruction. It was that single spark between them, the moment their worlds had touched. The next morning, Lyra walked with her head lowered as she entered the council chamber. The elders sat in a circle of light, their golden eyes glowing faintly. The oldest among them spoke first. "You broke protocol, Guardian Lyra. You brought the human to sacred ground. You risked our secrecy, and now our shields are weak." Lyra kept her voice calm. "Without him, I would not be standing here. He fought beside me. He saved my life." The council murmured softly among themselves. "A human fought?" one elder asked in disbelief. "How can that be?" "Because he feels," Lyra replied quietly. "Because he still believes life matters." The room went silent. The eldest one leaned forward. "You have changed, Lyra. The old ways forbid connection with outsiders. Emotions are dangerous. They cloud judgment." Lyra bowed slightly. "Maybe judgment needs to be clouded sometimes. Maybe that is how we remember what it means to live." The elders looked at her in shock. The youngest one spoke sharply. "Your words border on treason. Be careful." She left the chamber without another word, her mind heavy but her heart strangely light. Something inside her had already changed, and there was no going back. Outside, she found Ethan sitting near the edge of a broken platform, repairing a damaged scanner using pieces of alien metal. He looked up when she approached. "Did they believe you?" he asked. Lyra shook her head. "They do not understand what they have forgotten." He smiled faintly. "Yeah, people in power rarely do." She sat beside him, watching his hands move. "You fix things even when they cannot be fixed," she said. "It's a habit," Ethan replied. "If I stop trying, I stop being me." Lyra's eyes softened. "Your spirit? It burns differently. It frightens me. Why?" "Because it makes me feel," she said simply. "And feeling is forbidden among my kind." Ethan looked at her quietly. Why would anyone forbid something like that? Lyra looked at the sky. Long ago our world was full of emotion. Love, joy, even grief. But emotion brought war. It broke planets, destroyed bonds. So the elders removed it from us through the crystals that power our lives. We became logical, perfect, but empty. Our hearts forgot how to feel warmth, how to ache, how to dream. Ethan listened, trying to imagine a world where people lived without love. "That sounds like dying while still breathing," he said softly. Lyra turned to him, her silver eyes reflecting the twin moons. "Then maybe I have been dead for a very long time." They sat in silence. The night air brushed against them, cool and soft. Ethan could hear the faint hum of the city rebuilding itself. He wanted to reach for her, to tell her she wasn't alone, but something about her still felt untouchable, like starlight he couldn't hold. Then Lyra spoke again, her voice barely a whisper. "Tell me, human, what does it feel like to love?" Ethan thought for a long moment. "It feels like wanting someone to stay even when they have every reason to leave. It's when your heart hurts but still hopes. It's both beautiful and painful at the same time." Lyra looked away, her eyes distant. Pain and beauty. "We lost both," Ethan smiled sadly. "Then maybe it's time you remember." Lyra's gaze met his again. For a moment, the air between them felt alive, warm and bright. The energy around her armor flickered as if responding to something inside her. She lifted her hand slowly and touched his cheek. The contact was soft but powerful. Her breath caught and her pulse quickened, a sound she had never heard before, her own heart beating faster. Her voice trembled slightly. "It is real," she whispered. "The warmth. It is real." Ethan placed his hand over hers gently. It always was. The world around them seemed to fade. The soft hum of energy, the distant lights, even the air itself grew still. For a few precious seconds, only two beings existed. One who had never felt and one who refused to stop feeling. But far above, hidden in the shadows of the towers, a pair of eyes watched them. A guard, silent and unseen, turned away to report what he had seen. When Lyra pulled her hand back, her voice was filled with both wonder and fear. "If they find out?" Ethan smiled softly. "Then we fight together." Lyra looked at him for a long moment before whispering, "You speak like a fool, human." "Maybe," he said, "but fools are the ones who change worlds." And as the twin moons bathed them in silver light, Lyra realized something she had never felt before. She didn't want to go back to the way things were. The days passed quietly after the council's warning, but silence could not erase what had happened between Ethan and Lyra. Something inside both of them had changed. The air between them now carried an invisible tension, a pull neither could explain or deny. Lyra spent most of her time in the archives, trying to understand the strange reaction she had felt when she touched Ethan. Her scanners told her nothing. Every reading showed normal energy patterns, yet her heart still beat faster whenever she thought of him. The sensation defied logic, and that made her both curious and afraid. Ethan, on the other hand, was trapped in thought. He repaired small parts of his ship, trained with the energy staff Lyra had given him, and tried to keep his mind occupied. But every time he closed his eyes, he saw her face, calm, distant and beautiful in a way that no human word could describe. One evening, Lyra came to him. Her steps were softer than usual, her expression unreadable. "I have been studying what happened," she said. "The pulse of warmth, the feeling I cannot measure. I believe it is tied to you." Ethan looked up. "Tied to me how?" She hesitated before answering. "When our energies met, my body reacted. It released something that has been silent for centuries. I felt alive." Ethan smiled slightly. "That's not science, Lyra, that's emotion." Her eyes flickered. "Emotion is not something we understand. But I want to. I want to know what it means to feel like you do." There was a calm moment between them. Then she said quietly, "I want to try something. A test to feel as a human does." Ethan didn't move. "You mean an experiment?" She nodded. "Yes, but not of logic, of connection." He met her gaze. There was something different in her eyes now, something soft and searching. "All right," he said. "Then show me how your people begin an experiment." She stepped closer until the air between them felt heavy. Her hand trembled slightly as she reached out and touched his chest, feeling the steady rhythm of his heartbeat. "It's strong," she said. "I can feel the rhythm inside you. It's warm." Ethan placed his hand over hers. "That's what it means to be human. To have something inside that keeps you alive even when everything outside is trying to destroy you." Her breathing grew unsteady. "When I touch you, my energy changes. It's as if my body is trying to match yours. Maybe it's because we're not that different," he said softly. Lyra closed her eyes, and the room began to glow faintly. The crystals in the walls responded to her pulse, lighting up in waves of color. She could feel something inside her breaking free, a wall she had never known existed. Her voice trembled as she whispered, "Human, don't stop." Ethan froze, watching as her body shimmered with light. The glow spread from her fingertips to her skin, tracing along her arms like flowing rivers. She opened her eyes, and for the first time, they weren't cold silver, they were alive, reflecting shades of blue and violet. She felt her heartbeat again, faster and louder, echoing through her entire being. Her mind couldn't explain it, but her soul understood it. It was warmth, life, desire, emotion, all at once. Lyra stepped back, gasping softly, her voice full of awe. "I feel everything. Joy, fear, pain. It's too much." Ethan steadied her gently. "It's supposed to be too much. That's what makes it real." Tears formed in her eyes, shimmering like liquid glass. She touched her face in surprise. water from my eyes. Is this normal? Ethan smiled softly. Yeah, that's called crying. It happens when your heart has more to say than your voice can handle. She looked at him, her expression fragile yet full of wonder. Your kind lives with this every day? We do, it hurts sometimes. But it's also what makes life worth living. Lyra's eyes softened. Then maybe your kind is stronger than mine. For a while, neither spoke. The room glowed gently around them, their energy still connected. Outside, the sky shimmered with violet light as the planet's twin moons rose higher. But their moment of peace didn't last. A sudden knock on the chamber door broke the stillness. Lyra turned quickly, her face pale. Who is it? Ethan whispered. She shook her head. No one must see us like this. The door opened with a hiss and one of the guards entered. His expression turned cold when he saw their closeness, the glow still faint around them. Guardian Lyra, he said, his voice firm. The council summons you immediately. They say your energy signature has changed. Lyra's breath caught. She glanced at Ethan, her eyes full of silent worry. They know, she whispered. The guard frowned. Know what? Nothing, she said quickly, stepping away from Ethan. Her voice hardened again, but her eyes betrayed the storm inside. As the guard let her out, Ethan called softly, Lyra, whatever happens, don't let them take this from you. She turned back once before the door closed, her face lit by the fading glow. They cannot take what has already awakened, she said quietly. And with that she disappeared into the light, leaving Ethan alone in the silence that suddenly felt colder than the empty stars above. Lyra walked through the grand hall of the council chamber, her steps echoing softly on the glowing floor. Every beam of light in the room seemed to watch her, silent and judging. The elders sat in a perfect circle, their faces calm but their eyes sharp like blades. The air was heavy, thick with quiet tension. Guardian Lyra, the eldest spoke, his voice deep and slow. Your energy readings have changed. You show signs of corruption, explain. Lyra bowed her head slightly. I am not corrupted. I am awakened. Whispers moved through the circle like ripples on water. The youngest elder leaned forward. Awakened by what? Lyra met his gaze. By contact with the human. The room fell into dead silence. The eldest stood, his expression unmoving. You have violated the ancient laws. The connection between our kind and humans is forbidden. Emotion is a disease, Lyra, and you have let it infect your soul. Lyra spoke quietly, but her voice was steady. If emotion is a disease, then perhaps it is the cure we have been running from. Our people are hollow. We exist, but we do not live. The elder's tone sharpened. Enough. The human will be captured and removed. You will undergo cleansing to erase what you have absorbed. Her eyes widened. You mean they will destroy what I have become? It is necessary for order, he replied coldly. Lyra took a slow breath. Then I choose chaos. Before the guards could move, she raised her hand. A burst of light filled the chamber, knocking them back. The power came from deep inside her, wild and alive. She had never used her abilities like this before. The crystals on the walls reacted to her pulse, glowing brighter until the air itself shimmered. Lyra turned and ran. Alarms echoed through the city, and beams of energy shot past her as she raced down the crystal corridors. The people of Aloria stepped back in fear as she passed. No one had ever seen a guardian disobey the council. Meanwhile, Ethan sat waiting in the quiet chamber. He had not seen Lyra since the guards took her. He tried to stay calm, but every sound outside made him tense. When the alarms began to wail, he knew something had gone terribly wrong. The door slid open suddenly, and Lyra stood there. Her armor was cracked, her eyes glowing with fierce light. Ethan, we have to go, she said. What happened? They know everything. They want to destroy you and me. He grabbed the small bag he had packed and followed her. The corridor shook under their feet as the city's defense systems activated. Drones hovered above, releasing streams of energy toward them. Lyra raised a shield of blue light, deflecting the attacks, but the strain showed in her trembling hands. They ran through the lower levels, past chambers filled with humming crystals and glowing pools of energy. The air grew hotter, charged with power. Ethan could see the exhaustion in Lyra's movements. Lyra, you're using too much, he said. You'll burn yourself out. I can't stop, she replied. If we slow down, they will catch us. They reached an open platform overlooking the valley. The wind blew strong, carrying the scent of ozone and rain. In the distance, Ethan could see the faint outline of his crashed ship. Hope flickered inside him. That's our way out, he said. Lyra nodded weakly. But we'll never reach it if I don't hold them back. Before he could protest, she turned and spread her arms wide. Her energy flared like a storm. The ground beneath them trembled. Blue lightning spiraled into the sky, forming a barrier between them and the pursuing guards. The light was blinding. Ethan ran to her side. Stop, Lyra, you'll die if you keep this up. Her voice was soft but firm. I am not dying, Ethan. I am becoming what I was meant to be. The wind howled around them, lifting her hair like strands of silver flame. Her eyes met his, no longer cold, no longer alien. You showed me what it means to feel. I won't let them take that away. He reached for her hand. Then let me share it with you. She looked at him for a long moment, then smiled faintly. Always the foolish human. He pulled her close, holding her as the light surrounded them both. The energy between them surged, stronger than anything the council had ever felt. The crystals across the city began to glow, responding to their combined pulse. In that instant, Lyra's power fused with his. The light exploded outward, sweeping across Eloria like dawn. The guards stopped, shielding their eyes as the brilliance washed over everything. When the light faded, the city was silent. The air was calm again. Ethan knelt beside Lyra, her body faintly glowing, her breathing shallow. Lyra, stay with me, he whispered. She smiled weakly. You gave me something my world forgot. A heart. He held her close as the first drops of silver rain began to fall, not knowing if she would survive, but knowing that something far greater had already begun. Far above, the council watched from their towers, their emotionless faces cracked by something unfamiliar. For the first time in centuries, the elders felt a heartbeat within their own chests, and deep within Eloria, the world itself seemed to whisper a name carried by wind and light. Lyra. The silver rain continued to fall across Eloria, washing away the smoke and fire from the battle. Every drop shimmered with soft light, as if the planet itself was crying with relief. The city that once stood cold and perfect now felt alive again. The crystals no longer pulsed with silence. They hummed with warmth, their glow steady and rhythmic like a heartbeat returned after ages of stillness. Ethan sat beside Lyra near the edge of a high platform. The storm had passed, leaving the world painted in calm silver light. Lyra's eyes were closed, her breath shallow but steady. Ethan brushed the rain from her face, whispering softly, Come on, Lyra, you promised me you'd fight. For a moment she didn't move. Then her fingers twitched slightly and her lips parted. Her voice was weak but clear. Ethan, he smiled, half laughing, half crying. I'm here. You did it. You saved them. Her eyes opened slowly, no longer glowing cold blue but soft and human-like, the silver fading into a gentle shade of violet. She looked around in silence, taking in the glowing valley below. The city. It feels different, she said quietly. Ethan nodded. You changed it. You changed them. Lyra tried to sit up and he helped her. The light around her body had softened. No longer wild energy, but a calm radiance that blended with the air itself. She could feel the world breathing again. Not through machines, but through hearts. From the distance she could hear the low hum of the city reviving. Crystals reconnected. Energy lines flowed freely and the people of Eloria stepped out of hiding. They looked confused, but alive. Some touched their chests in shock as if realizing they could feel again. For centuries they had forgotten what it meant to care, to hurt, to love. And now that silence was broken. A group of guards approached slowly, led by the youngest elder. He no longer looked stern. His golden eyes had softened, the emotion in them raw and unfamiliar. He looked at Lyra and then at Ethan. What have you done to us? He asked, his voice quiet, not in anger but awe. Lyra's voice was calm. I gave you back what was taken, the power to feel. The elder placed a hand on his chest. It hurts, he said softly. Lyra smiled faintly. Yes, that is how you know it's real. He nodded slowly, then bowed his head. The council has fallen silent. We do not know what comes next. Then let the world decide, Ethan said. Not rules, not fear. The elder looked at him for a long moment before saying, You are no longer our prisoner, human. You are the bridge between our kind and yours. He turned and left, leaving them alone once more. Lyra leaned against Ethan, her head resting lightly on his shoulder. I never believed my people could change, she said softly. I thought we were too far gone. Ethan looked at her with a small smile. Sometimes it just takes one spark to light up the whole sky. She watched the twin moons reflecting over the silver rivers below. And if that spark burns out? He answered quietly. Then it becomes a star. And stars never die. For a while they sat in silence, letting the gentle wind wrap around them. The air carried the scent of rain and something else. Hope. Lyra turned her gaze toward the horizon where Ethan's ship lay half buried in the sand. Your ship? Can you still leave? He nodded. Maybe, but I don't think I want to unless you come with me. Lyra's eyes softened. You would take me to your world? Even after what my people did to you? Ethan smiled. Your people tried to destroy me. You saved me. I think that makes us even. She laughed softly, the sound fragile but beautiful. Then perhaps I will see this earth you speak of. I want to know if its sky feels the same. He stood and helped her up. Together they walked toward the ship, the valley glowing behind them. The world around them had changed forever. Machines pulsed with life. Rivers glimmered like veins of light, and somewhere deep inside the planet, a pulse echoed, the rhythm of a world reborn. As they reached the ship, Ethan turned back for one last look. The city shone beneath the twin moons. No longer a place of silence, but of feeling. He felt Lyra's hand slide into his. It was warm, human warm. She looked at him, her voice barely above a whisper. Do you think your people will accept me? Ethan squeezed her hand. They'll see what I see. And what is that? He smiled. Someone worth fighting the universe for. Lyra looked toward the stars, her eyes reflecting their light. Then maybe the universe was worth saving after all. As the ship lifted from the ground, trails of light followed them, like the planet itself was saying goodbye. Below them, Eloria glowed brighter, its heart finally awake. And somewhere among those stars, a human and an alien flew side by side, not enemies, not strangers, but the beginning of something new. The first story of two worlds learning to feel again.